Good morning. This is Blaine's World webcast that can be found each week on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. You can also find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You get more information, find out about past shows at our website, which is behind me, blainesworld.net. I'm your host, Blaine Greenfield, and I'm here in my Zoom studio in lovely downtown Fairview, North Carolina. Each week, we focus on positive news and information about people and organizations in both Western North Carolina and throughout the country. And toward that end, it's my pleasure to introduce a relatively new friend of mine, and she is Lily Bartleson. And Lily, you can wave to all your fans and friends who are watching. Okay. And Lily Bartleson, I should mention, is a West North Carolina actress who loves expressing her artistry through theater. After graduating from Broad College, she sought excitement and new beginnings in Chicago. After 2 short years, she found her way back to North Carolina. I'm very glad that happened. Hasn't left since then. Previous credits have included their Laramie Project, Legend of Sleepy Hollow, The Wedding Singer, and now Ordinary Days. And I think, Lily, I've seen you just about in everything you've been in, or I've seen those shows and some others as well. But before we talk about those shows, let me ask you this. You grew up as a kid where?
Right here in Burnsville, North Carolina.
Okay, when you were a kid growing up in Burnsville, North Carolina, did you always know you wanted to be an actress?
I love this question because a lot of people actually ask this question. When I was young, I came to my mother and I said, I want to be an entertainer, not an actress, not a dancer, not a singer, an entertainer. So I've known since I was very young that I wanted to be in this business and that I wanted to express myself through acting and singing and dancing.
And what was your mother's reaction when she told you that?
She said, I knew it. She always knew I had it in me.
So as a kid, did you do when did you start acting?
I started at Parkway Playhouse. I guess my actual first performance was Where the Wild Things Are when I was about 8 or 9. In at the Spruce Pine Montessori School in Spruce Pine. But technically I started at Parkway Playhouse when I was 10. I was one of the kids in the band for the Music Man.
Okay, very cool. But go back to the when you were 8 or 9. So that was your first play. You remember that one.
My very first play.
I asked for a reason. Do they have a record of that anywhere?
I don't think they do, and I think that's for the better.
So your mom never videotaped it, or nobody ever did a videotape of it?
No, it was back in a time where people didn't always have their phones out to record. They just kind of lived in the moment kind of thing.
Well, think about this, Lily, because I want to share an idea with you that I've shared with other people. But I
Okay.
know in your spare time, you're also on the board at Parkway Playhouse.
Hmm.
So I have this idea for a fundraiser, Lily. And
Oh, okay.
the idea for the fundraiser is everybody would create the very first role, you know. So you would have a chance to recreate, since your mom doesn't have a record of it, you don't have a record of it, you get a chance to do that role when you were 8 or 9. Wouldn't that be a fun thing to do?
Oh, that would be so much fun to see where everyone kind of started their
Right.
love of theater. That's a great idea.
But think about this. I mean, and again, I'll offer to help you with it if you ever do it. But I just think it'd be a fun idea. A lot of people would see it, and you could do your role, so other people would be a tree or a bush or something. Wouldn't that be
Hmm.
fun to give a
That would be
chance to
so
revisit?
fun.
So you started acting as a kid. Did you act throughout school thereafter?
Yes, I performed in middle school and high school. Jenny Martin was my teacher
Okay.
in middle school, and Elisa Bryant was my teacher in high school.
Okay. Very good. Two very good teachers, I imagine.
Absolutely, yeah, top notch.
So when you were performing then throughout high school, through that period of time, was there a favorite role you had?
Oh gosh. When I guess I was 16 or 17. This is when I started to really get into theater with Parkway Playhouse Junior. It's when they started the junior program. I played Mulan, and it was probably one of the funnest things that I've ever done.
I missed that one, but since then, so you've acted in all the junior plays, but then what was really exciting for me to see you acting in quote non-junior plays. So you started acting then. What is it? At some point, you graduate or they kick you out of the junior program and say you have to.
Yeah, they kicked me out because I was too much trouble.
Is that no? What determines at Parkway? What's the junior age range?
To my understanding, the junior program is like from 12 to 18, but don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure. At least the junior program that competed or went to the National Junior Theater Festival, that was kind of the age range.
Now, at the same time, you were also performing in school at all?
Yeah, I went to competition with my high school for Appalaching, which is a show that Elisa Bryant wrote herself. We came up with monologues about living in Southern Appalachia, and we created these beautiful songs. No, we only didn't create the songs, but we sang beautiful harmonies together, and we brought it to competition, and we won state that year, I think.
Very cool. What was your first main stage production at Parkway? Do you remember?
Um, I would consider my first main stage production Annie in 2010, and I played Pepper,
Okay, yeah,
the cool orphan.
I think that was just about the year I got to the Asheville area, so I think I missed you in that role.
Mhm.
But out of all the roles that you've had up till now, I'll put you on the spot, aside from your upcoming show, you have a favorite role you've had?
I'm really proud of the work that I did in college, specifically the Laramie Project. I'm
Now,
very proud of that.
so you went to college and you're acting in college as well?
Mhm.
So you did plays at Brevard then, is that correct?
I did every year I was in at least two or three plays.
Okay. And so the Laramie Project, now they just did that recently. I'm trying to think, were you in the when they did it locally, they did the Laramie Project as well. Did you get to see it here?
No, unfortunately, I think I was in Chicago at that time.
Okay. But the Laramie Project, that's quite a show. And you enjoyed that. Any other plays from college you remember?
Let's see, I was in The Diviners, I was in Crimes of the Heart, I was in The Tempest, Beowulf, which or Brother Wolf, which was an Appalachian adaptation of Beowulf, which was so fun because I got to play a witch. Love that. Yeah, just a couple of a wide range of things that I did. I was in a musical my very first year, Some Enchanted Evening. It was a really great experience that I had at Brevard College.
So then after you graduated college, at that point in time, did you decide you wanted to continue with your acting or what did you decide then?
Yeah, I definitely wanted to pursue acting or at least stay in the theater world. So I moved up to Chicago and I auditioned a little bit here and there, but I worked mainly at the American Blues Theater, which produced some really beautiful shows that I saw when I was up there. So I was hands-on front of house work, so I was still in the theater world, but not necessarily acting.
And you raise a good point there because, and I think you're a good example of it, that, people want to act and I give you credit for that too. But there are plenty of behind the scenes positions in theater too. And I
Hmm.
guess, and to your credit, you're a good example of this. If you can do some of these other things as well, you're increasing your chances for employment. If
Yes.
all you do is act, and there's so many fine actors in the Asheville area, they also need stage managers. They need, ticket people as well. Have you ever done any stage managing?
I did stage manage a little bit. I took a course in college. And then with the Brevard Ballet, I stage managed one of their productions.
Because somebody once told me that that's one of the best ways to get an employment and be very employable if you can be a stage manager. It's like a lot of people don't know it, but it's really a very crucial position
Yes,
in
and a very
theater.
challenging job to do. You have to keep up with everything and everyone.
And on top of that, it's a position that pays as well, so that's kind of a nice thing to be a stage manager. And all the
Hmm.
stuff you've done or not done, upcoming, do you have a dream role you ever want to play that you haven't played yet, but that you want to be?
Um, I constantly sing Hamilton in my car. It's a little basic for me to say that I want to be Angelica Schuyler in Hamilton. Um, that's definitely one of them. Um, I don't know. I don't really think of having dream roles until I get cast in something and I'm like, wow, this is now a new dream role of mine.
How about we talk about behind the scenes things, aside from being a stage manager, have you ever wanted to direct as well?
You know what? I dabbled in directing in college, and I really enjoyed it. There's a very creative process when it comes to directing. Everything has to be very focused in on and intentional. So I like the creative part of that. I'm just a little nervous about it. I want to do a good job and um, I don't know if I can reach that level of expectation that I have for myself, that I have for directors, but you know, it's something that's definitely if it's written in the stars, I'll definitely do it.
And what directors don't tell you, is Lily, is the real reason they like directing is they don't have to memorize the dialogue, or parts. You laugh, that to be an actor, I give you such credit that involves a lot of memorization. But are you good at that, I guess?
Yeah, I'm fairly good at it. It's all about, for me, it's all about repetition, just doing it constantly.
What about drama versus musicals? Do you have a preference?
Oh, I'm such a dramatic girl. I love a good drama. But I really have a soft spot for comedies and musicals. I just love every opportunity that I get.
Well, and that's what I think I've seen a bunch of things and where you've had a comic role. It just cracked me up every time I see you. And I won't say, and that's not your goal, but you seem still a lot of, I'll be watching, and I forgot the one play at Parkway. That was good, but then whenever you got on stage, it was fairly, I forgot which one it was, but you just stole every scene I think you were in, just,
Oh.
um, and I don't know, is that something you work, not to steal scenes, but that you work to find a comic viewpoint in anything, or how do you find that in a show that can make people laugh?
So I watch a lot of TV and I think, okay, this is what the actors just did. Did I think it was funny, or is there another choice that could have been made? So I always think, what will the audience anticipate? What do I think that they'll find really funny in this moment? And how can I get that kind of reaction out of them?
So I'm trying to think the play, and it'll come to me probably when we're off the air, that you were in the Parkway, but you just like it was so funny, and you didn't have a big part. Well, anytime
Hmm.
you were on stage, you just had people laughing. I don't know if you're thinking the same play I am,
Hmm.
but whenever you do that, another Parkway actor does that as well. Daniel Moore seems to be
Uh,
able to do that too. And so
yes, he can steal a scene.
he really does. But have you been on in plays with him?
Um, I have been in plays that he's directed, and I was also in A Good Day. That was the during the pandemic. It was an outdoor production where people would move from scene to scene throughout Burnsville, and I did do a scene with Daniel.
Okay, I'm sorry I missed that. But the two of you, I can just see the scene together would just be incredible. Is
Uh-huh, yeah.
it's hard when you're on the stage, it's so hard not to crack up though. That
Yeah, it takes a lot of willpower not to just burst into laughter when something funny happens. You have to keep your cool. You have to focus, but it's so fun to have those moments of like, wow, that's really funny, you know?
apropos of that, talk about the upcoming show you're working on. And it's going to be in a couple of weeks. That's going to be Ordinary Days. I don't know too much about the show. Lily, what's the show about?
So the spiel I give is we're talking about four people living in New York City in the early 2000s. We have a dreamer and a believer, we have a recent grad student, and we have a couple who are working through some really hard challenges of being in a new relationship, but wanting to move forward in a positive way.
And what's your role?
My name is Claire, and I'm actually in that relationship, and I'm kind of the one holding back because my past is calling and I'm responding to it instead of looking forward into the future.
Now, had you known the play beforehand?
No, no. the woman who works at Parkway Playhouse, who I believe is the operations manager, Jackie Campos.
Okay.
She absolutely raved about this show last year. And when we decided to do it this year, she was so excited because she's in love with the musical. She loves the music, she loves the characters, and now I'm falling in love with all of that too.
Now, as you mentioned, it is a musical. Um, and I don't know too much about it, but one of the cool things is, so it's a musical involving, there are four actors, you said, or five?
Yes,
Yeah,
four.
four actors. Is there, are you using tracks in it or using a live musician?
We are using just a pianist.
Okay, very exciting. See, even that,
Yeah.
I don't know about you, it's a tough thing for any local theater to do, but I just so love live music. No offense to tracks, but it just gives a different feel to it as
Yeah.
well. Who's the pianist?
We haven't met him yet
Okay,
formally. He's gonna come with us. I believe in the next 2 weeks we'll start kind of working with him. I don't know his last name, but his name is John.
okay. One of the nice things too, though, if you can talk about the fact that you're also working, I think, with one of my favorite musical directors, and you want to talk about her?
Oh, I would love to talk about Linda. She is such a kind and wonderful music director. She works with the actors. She helps you find that confidence that you need to sing, because this musical is all singing. There's like 1% dialogue,
Wow.
all singing for like an hour and a half. So she really drills in all the music in us. She helps us find those characters, and she's just an absolute joy to work with. It's been a lot of fun.
And one of my favorites as well. You're also working with another one of my favorites, and your director is
Good old Jeff.
okay. Well, I don't know if he's that old, Lily, but he's a I think very talented director. I don't know. Have you ever had the pleasure of seeing him act?
I have not had the honor of seeing
Yeah,
him act yet, but I've heard some really great things.
and sometimes I'm sad when somebody's directing a play because I love seeing him as an actor. But he's
Yeah.
a very talented director. And so, how long have you been working on this already?
We started rehearsals in late June.
Let's talk about that because the show, and people don't realize this, that's why I love live theater, how much time you put into this. So the show's starting, I think, August 9th, but you've
Yes.
actually been late June, July. So it'll be almost 2 months you're
Mm-hmm.
working on that. And
Mm-hmm.
how often do you work on it?
So about 3 or 4 rehearsals a week.
Okay, the rehearsals are how long?
About 3 hours.
Okay, so that's a lot of time you're putting into it.
It's a lot of time, yes.
And what's sad about it, not sad, it's just the reality, is it only runs what over, this is going to be 2 weekends or 3 weekends?
Just 2 weekends, 6 performances.
Wow, what a shame, to put all this work for only 6 performances.
Yeah.
Starts on August 9th, runs to the 18th. And
Mm-hmm.
for the benefit of the people who don't know about it, I'll have you just describe a little bit about the Playhouse. So where it is and how would you describe it?
Sure. Parkway Playhouse is located in the heart of Burnsville, North Carolina. It is, I believe, the longest running summer stock theater in North Carolina. It's a sweet little playhouse where kids can express themselves, adults can express themselves, technicians have great leaders to learn from. Front of house staff can meet face to face with our patrons and really get a feel for their love and commitment to our playhouse as well.
And one of the great things about the Playhouse before I mean, now is that it's also air conditioned, right? But
Yes.
you say that, but before your time, I guess you were there at the time, but I always remember one of the first shows I ever saw at Playhouse was King and and I loved it. I don't know.
Yeah, I was in that.
Were you really?
I was.
Well, then you'll know what I'm talking about. There's such great production, but it was a hot summer night. And then the worst, Lily, in the audience it was okay, but I understand people backstage where you were with the costumes they had, such fantastic costumes. People
Mhm.
were really hot in that show. You remember it?
Sweating up a storm.
But
Oh, each and every one of us kept powdering our faces because the sweat would run down.
oh, I can't believe you were in that show. What a great performance production that was. So,
Absolutely, yeah, with the orchestra and all the actors and actresses. It was really great.
what was your role? Do you remember?
So do you remember, I was just an ensemble member, but do you remember the scene where Anna comes in with, I believe it's her husband, and there's this big blowout because he has the little monocle and they say the evil eye? I was the one who pointed and said the evil eye, and I screamed at him and ran away.
Oh, you remember that? I can't believe it. Yeah,
Yeah.
how old were you then?
Oh gosh, that was in, oh gosh, I was probably 13 or 14 maybe.
Okay, great production though. I loved it.
Oh, me
So
too.
back to Ordinary Days. So we talked about director, we talked about Linda's role. Who else is in the play with you?
All right, I want to make sure I get all these names
Okay,
right. So
thank you.
we have Kelly Hall as Deb. We have Eric Martinez as Jason and Joby Lavery as Warren, and then myself as Claire.
Okay, and for the benefit of folks who don't know, Eric is also one of my favorite local actors. And I don't know, did you get to see the show he's doing right now?
Oh, is that Xanadu?
Xanadu.
No, I wasn't able to see it, but
Okay,
I've heard so many great things about
oh,
it.
it's so much fun. And so Eric is just such a talented actor. I can't believe he's in that with you. So
Mhm.
should be quite a cast. Um, and that should be quite a show. So you've been working now for 3 or 4, several weeks already. It's going to have the whole rest of the month, I guess, and then beginning of August. And who would you say should see the play? Who's it directed at?
Will you repeat the
I'm
question?
sorry, who would you say should see the show? Who's it directed at? The like an
Oh,
age
that's
limit
such a good
and
question.
interest level?
Um, I mean, I personally think that there's something in it for everyone. There are a lot of really funny moments. There are a lot of tender moments. There are moments that you relate to, especially if you're someone who lived in a city in the early 2000s and really experienced, the people, the city itself, the environment. I think those who lived in a big city during that time specifically, some things will really resonate with them.
I guess your experience in Chicago helped you prepare for this a little bit, or could you relate to some of it being in Chicago?
Definitely. Absolutely.
So it's a gutsy move on your part, I guess, to all of a sudden pack up and then just go to Chicago to try the big city, or what was your goal in doing that?
Yeah, I had lived in Burnsville, North Carolina my whole life, and I wanted to experience a bigger world. I wanted to experience more. So I decided my senior year of college that I was gonna go to Chicago. So I kind of gathered up all my things quickly. I got a job at the Lyric Opera in Chicago, which didn't last too long, but I enjoyed it. I went to the big city. I rode downtown every morning. It was a really wonderful experience.
I find it hard to believe that there's life outside of where you are now, and there's also life outside Brevard. It's
Yeah.
there are bigger cities than where you've been up till now.
hmm
And so coming back to the area was probably it was very comforting, or how would you call it when you came back?
It was a little bittersweet. I didn't expect to come home so soon, but I came home to take care of my mother.
Okay. So anyway, I'm glad you came back because otherwise we wouldn't be speaking now. So
Yeah, me too.
depends how you look at it. So after Ordinary Days ends, it runs its the 9th to the 18th. Do you have any other plans in terms of theater that you can share?
I will be back at Parkway Playhouse for the second annual Appalachian Playwriting Festival, which Miss Cheyenne Dancy had took head of last year, and where this year the winner of last year's selection was a main stage production.
And what was that?
That was Minister of Sorrow with
Okay,
Lisa Bryan.
unfortunately, I missed it. And so this year, how many plays does that involve? Just
I believe there are three.
okay, and that'll be what, sometime in September? Do you know?
Yes. Do you want me to find those dates? I
If
think
you
it's
can.
September 21st and 22nd.
Okay, so just a short run of that particular thing. You'll be in one of the plays then?
I'm in 2 of the 3.
Okay, and then after that, if you have it in front of you, anything else you can share upcoming at Parkway? So we have this show, Ordinary Days. Is there
Mhm.
anything left in the run of the summer or in the fall planned?
I know we have a big concert in October. I can definitely give some more details on that later because I'm not 100% sure if everything is in place. But I also know we're gonna have a Christmas concert in December, so that's gonna be exciting.
And how do you like being a board member?
I enjoy it a lot. There are some things that now I have a voice in, and it feels like I'm giving back to my community while being on this board, and it's a real honor to be able to do that for my community.
Okay, well, I want to thank you for doing that as well, because I don't know how you do this in your spare time. Yeah, trying, yeah, I know you're working outside the theater. You're also in shows. You're also, I see you whenever I go there. You also at theater as well. You're helping the box office, or you're doing
Mhm.
different kinds of things. So you put a lot of time into it.
I do. I do.
Down the road, do you have any plans that you'd like to accomplish in theater? Is there anything you'd like to eventually do?
Like in the near future, I want to immerse myself more into the Asheville scene for sure. After that, I don't know. The sky's the limit. Anything is possible. And if I really put the work in and I really motivate myself, I will find some real happiness in my future.
Well, if folks want to keep in touch with you or find out about what you're doing, is there a best way to track you down?
Absolutely. You can follow me on Facebook, you can follow me on Instagram. That's usually where I am.
Okay, well, anyway, I'll encourage folks to do that because Lily, as you'll see, is a very talented actor, and sort of looking forward to this next upcoming show. Hopefully, a bunch more in the future. Lily, I'd like to thank you for being my guest this edition of Blaine's World webcast, and I'd also like to thank my producer, Cappy Tassetti, and hopefully we'll speak to you in live and in person in the next couple of weeks.
That sounds great. Thanks so much for having me.
Okay, thanks for joining me.